Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Rei-Lin, and I'm back with the final of the last batch of premium tanks that came out, well, quite a ways away. Black Friday deals, the Marder 2. It's a Tier 8 armored fighting vehicle. And I just wanted to get some stuff out there. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Hope everyone stayed safe and had a good Christmas. And with the upcoming New Year, I hope everyone stays safe and has a good, happy New Year's. And just as I had predicted on my last video with the Sabra, I assumed that these tanks would be making a return to the store at some point in some sort of package deal. And they did. They are on the shop once again. So you can go to the web shop and you can buy any of the three tanks that I've already done the review on, including this one, the Marder 2, the Vickers Mark 7, Vanquisher, or the Sabra Mark II. They're all up there on the store, and I guess they're going to be permanently up there on the store from now on. I think they're going to be integrating that into the actual dealer trees at some point, but for now, they're on the shop, on the website, or even from the game. You can purchase them, and you can go from there. Speaking of stuff that you could purchase on the website, they did add a couple of new premium tanks after the Black Friday stuff, and I've been waiting to get them. Most of them were just reskins, of course. They got some neon tanks, which are just kind of silly, and then they have these Falcon-looking tanks that have a weird kind of paint job on them. I can show you one. I did get one. It was the Merkava 2D. You see, you got the funky paint job on this sucker, and it's the Black Eagle here. That's the paint job. I basically only got this package because it came with a new commander, Alexander Cortez, and he has a couple of skills that are actually really kind of crazy in that you can get to a 100% chance that every time you fire, you'll roll max damage. So basically, you'll always hit as hard as your shell's damage range. So I would always hit for 509 damage with every single shot, regardless of anything else. Now, obviously, this doesn't take into account HE damage and things like that. There are certain caveats to it that prevent it from always hitting for that max damage. But I got that package because it is on the website right now. And there is another premium tank that I've been waiting to receive, and I still haven't received it even after about 4 days because of problems with the new 0.23 patch, and that was I think it was the T92 Bravo. It's a Chinese Tier 8 premium main battle tank. I have yet to receive it in my garage or in my packages. I have a ticket in, but that will also be coming in a review just as soon as they let me get it. Since I've already paid for it, I'm just basically in a holding pattern. I also wanted to do this review a little bit sooner, but the last couple weeks since the patch hit, it's just been chaos. The patch has broken a lot of things. They fixed a lot of it just recently, 2 days ago. Things like your stuff resetting, your keys resetting every time you would go into a game, they'd randomly change, and every time you logged out, they'd reset, and constant blue screen of death, and crashes, and lockups, and not getting into games. It's just been a mess for the last couple of weeks or so. So unfortunately, this has delayed me getting a video out there because I've been unable to get into any kind of games without crashing or other difficulties to get footage of me driving this thing around so you can see how it plays. But anyway, that's enough wasting the time. These tanks are up on the shop. They're going to be up on the shop. More reviews coming here soon, just as soon as they allow me to have the tank that I paid for. And so we're going to jump right in. What is the Marder 2? Well, the Marder 2, if you've ever played the Terminator back when it was a Tier 6 and just loved how much it shredded everything, you basically got that, only it's this now at Tier 8. The Marder 2 is an armor fighting vehicle that actually does have some armor. Its mobility suffers for it because it's heavy and it's kind of slow, but that cannon is a 50 millimeter cannon as opposed to much of the other cannons that are out there that are not 50 millimeters. They're more like 30. millimeter cannons. So this thing has a lot of penetration for an autocannon and for an AFV. And I'll get to comparing this tank to the other ones here in just a minute after we take a look here at the stats. So alpha damage, 65 a shot. Yeah, it's AFV, so it's about right in there with all the others. It's actually a little bit higher than a few of the others, but this is what sets it apart. 200 millimeters of penetration. The closest anything else comes to this penetration is about 160 millimeters. And this is a tier 8. Even 200 millimeters doesn't seem like a lot, but a lot of vehicles at tier 8, 9, and even tier 10 don't have 200 millimeters of armor on the side or the rear of the tanks. So you're going to still have to flank. That's kind of what an AFV does. And shoot them in the butt, shoot them in the sides, but you can completely wreck almost any tank in the game with 200 millimeters of pen. It's really, really good as far as AFVs are concerned. The damage per minute, well, you can see if you can sit there and unload, you're going to do 16,247 damage per minute, which is insane. But the reload time, there's no real reload time. You just basically fire until you're out of ammunition, but it's 0.27 seconds. 250 rounds a minute. Burst fire rate, it's a little bit slow, so it's clunk, 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 clunk. You know, it's not machine gun kind of speed, but that is still really, really good. Regardless, most AFVs have about 200 to 300 rounds per minute. Now the health, 2,750 average. I mean, that's almost like a Russian main battle tank as far as health goes. But here's what sets this AFV apart from pretty much all the rest in the game. The armor, hull, 200 in the front, 115 on the side, 40 at the rear. And the turret has 240 in the front, 55 on the side, and 30 at the rear. Now, the 200 and 240 here are the only two that really matter. Frontally, this thing can actually bounce some shots. It's not going to bounce much, but if you're fighting it, you got a couple tier 6s or 7s shooting at you, you have a pretty good chance not to take much damage. Other armored fighting vehicles that actually use their autocannons probably aren't going to go through you from the front. And hull down, it's less likely they're going to go through you. So this thing does have a little bit of armor. It has a little bit of survivability, but don't count on this armor if you're in a tier 9 or tier 10 game. It doesn't matter. 240 is nothing to pretty much any tank at tier 9 and 10. So you're just going to have to play the sneaky game and try to flank stuff, and occasionally you're going to get lucky and bounce a shot. But even if you don't, you still have a good chunk of health. Mobility, 65.02 kilometers an hour is not exactly slow, but this does have a problem. Even though it says 0 to 32 in 3.2 seconds, don't let this fool you. The ground resistance for this thing is bad. Getting up to 65, no. Only if you're going downhill. If you're going downhill, you can get up to 65 pretty good. It will go faster than 65, but not much faster. This thing is 43,000 kilograms in weight. It's not that overly heavy, but it still just feels like it's really sluggish. I don't know why, but there's obviously some hidden stats here weighing it down. The whole traverse, 44.5 degrees a second. Not exactly that fast, but it's just right kind of in the middle. The camo is 30%. There are some AFVs that have a little bit better than that at 35%, but this isn't bad. 430 meters of view range is okay. You can bump that up and spot for your team, which is always a good thing considering you have decent camo. Cannon depression is 8 over the front, 6 over the rear, so you kind of want to shoot from the front as much as you can, but you do have 6 over the back if you're trying to run away and shoot stuff. 0.150 maximum deviation. The shells are pretty much going to go where you want them to go, but it is, as always, an autocannon, so there's kind of a spread no matter how good the accuracy is. Aim time 1.81 seconds. Now this is pretty good. You could knock that a little bit lower if you wanted to with your crew skills and stuff like that, and it probably would be if I had completely maxed out skills. And turret traverse 51.75 is pretty quick. I mean, you're going to be able to follow just about any target, even if they're a light tank or some other fast vehicle. That's not horrible at all. So in a nutshell, statistically, this thing seems like okay. It seems a little bit overpowered when you think about this not being a heavy tank or even a light tank, but it's an armored fighting vehicle that aren't known for having any kind of armor or penetration on the guns or on the armor. But in fact, it does. It even has a little bit of a crazy angle on the front there, so anything hitting here, if you can angle, it's probably going to bounce. There's the lower front plate, though, is kind of just dead flat. There's no angling. The turret really, it's got an angle there, but again, you're not going to rely so much on your armor to save you from anything unless it's a lower tier vehicle than you. Now, one thing I will mention, just because I have noticed, getting this tank and paying the $45 for it will get you a level 5 crew that comes with the tank, so you will have maximum crew efficiency if you decide that you want this tank. Now, let's go ahead and throw up the other tanks of tier 8 and see where everything kind of falls. So looking at the stats here of the Marder 2, I don't own any of the other tanks yet, so they're all going to be stock builds against, a premium tank, which is supposedly in the middle between stock and fully upgraded. And we're going to take an immediate look at the VBR. Obviously, across the board, minus the VBR, it's doing a lot more damage. Our Marder 2 comes out 20 more than anything else. The reason why the alpha and these stats here on the VBR are so much higher is because it's only showing the stats for the rocket launchers. It does, in fact, have an autocannon that's only got 140 millimeters of penetration once you max it out. But I can't just tell it, hey, only show me the damage of the autocannon. You have to actually go into the stats, look at the gun itself to see it. But this does, in fact, have an autocannon. Just keep in mind that it has 140 millimeters of pen and nowhere close to this much damage. It's pretty much exactly, it's 45 damage a shot. On down, damage per minute, obviously nothing even comes close, even the Romka 99. But the Romka 99, the Terminator, they're considered tank destroyers now. Even though their main guns are autocannons, believe it or not, they consider these as tank destroyers. I just threw it in here so that you could get an idea with the autocannon. And obviously it's not 10 millimeters of pen with the stock gun. I believe that is 100 millimeters because the next gun up immediately takes it up to 140 millimeters of pen and 45 damage. So I just threw this in here because I knew that it used to be an armored fighting vehicle, so they left some of the stats based on the guns for the armored fighting vehicles. So anyway, damage per minute, well above double for most of the other tanks. The reload time, 0.27. Like I said, you're not really reloading anything here, so that's not bad. It's almost a non-issue, and it's still better than everything but the Romka. 250 rounds per minute. I don't know what the VBR's is. Obviously, it doesn't either, but it's still faster than, of course, the Romka. Health, much better than everything. It's got the most health of all the tier 8s. Armor, obviously the Romka's going to win because this is a tank destroyer and it's a little bit OP when it comes to the armor and the spaced armor. A lot of people know this about the Terminators and what the Romka 99 is. The Terminator 2. So the Romka is going to beat it, but remember, this is a tank destroyer, not an AFV. It just used to be an AFV. The turret, well, obviously, the Romka wins yet again by a huge margin. But if you just kind of look at these three, the VBR, the Bradley, and the M1, you can see that nothing's coming close at all. You have to end up jumping to a completely different class of vehicle before any armor differences really make themselves known. This is the part where, of course, the mobility is the worst part of the Marder 2, and it's not even really the slowest. The Romka is on par with it, and just a little bit slower, but obviously the other three tanks here kick its ass. I mean, 100 kilometer 66, just barely beating it with the Bradley, and 102. So the M1 and the VBR definitely know how to haul balls. 0 to 32, 3.2 seconds is really good, minus the VBR, but the VBR is basically a Jeep with some rocket launchers on it, so I would expect that to be a little bit quicker. 43,000 kilograms is the heaviest, except for the Ramka. Hull traverse 44.5 degrees is pretty much negated because everyone else has wheels except for the Bradley, and it's still faster than Bradley, and it's much faster than the Ramka. Camo. This is where I said it wasn't the best, but it's definitely not the worst. 30% is on par with the Bradley. The VBR, much smaller vehicle, has a little bit better camo. The M1 has a little bit better. Again, it's still kind of small by comparison, but the Ronka has none. It's a tank destroyer with crappy camo. View range across the board, it is on par with the others and not as good. You know, the M1 and the Ronka don't win in that regard. So again, for the true AFVs, the Marder 2 is hanging tough. Cannon depression, well, unfortunately the cannons on the VBR are sitting way up high, so it does have 10 degrees of gun depression over the front and the rear because there's almost nothing to the vehicle. The Bradley has 12 over the front and on par 6 over the rear, and it's on par with the M1 with 8 and 6. The Ramka gets it worse off with only 5 and 3. Maximum deviation, true autocannons are here. They're a little bit better. Aim time's a little bit better. Obviously, the Ramka's losing out big time over here. And turret traverse, it's faster than everything but the VBR. So really, it's just flat out a good tank on paper. The stats say that, minus a couple, obviously not the top speed. It's not as fast as the others. It doesn't have quite the camo of the others, and it's missing out on a little gun depression. But it has the armor, it has the damage, it has the damage per minute, it has a great reload time, it has way more health, and it just, overall, it stacks up against almost any of the other AFEs, and in my case, my opinion, it's really good for an AFV of tier 8. And that, like I said, the 200 millimeters of pin, you'll be surprised at the stuff you can go through with that. Even though you're fighting tier 9s, you're fighting Challenger 2s and, T90 MSs and things like that, you'll be surprised at how much you can go through. But you have to, it's a give and take. The other AFEs don't have the damage or the pin because they don't have the armor, but they have mobility. This goes the exact opposite. You're getting all the damage and the pin, but you're losing out on about half the mobility in most cases. It is a tracked vehicle instead of wheeled, so you can get it to do things that the wheeled vehicles can't, but overall, you're giving up pretty much just the mobility. How much does that matter? Well, that's kind of personal opinion. This does run you $45 in the shop, or eventually whenever they put it into the game, it's going to be probably 9,000 gold, somewhere in there. I like the tank, but unless you are either a collector or a huge fan of the AFV playstyle, you don't get any missiles. What you see, you get 900 rounds of your favorite stuff, whether it's HE or AP, and that's it. You don't get the missiles like the Terminators used to have the autocannon, and if they couldn't go through it with the autocannon, they fire missiles. And it has no real spaced armor. It has no real, there's no APS system here. There's no ERA, so anything that you take damage from that's firing missiles is going to really wreck your shit. And even though you've got a lot of health, it only takes 2 or 3 missiles to kill you. So you have to play smart with this. This is not a drive-in, guns blazing tank. You kind of, sort of need to stay mid to long range and use that penetration that you have to get at longer ranges and take stuff out. Wait until an enemy is distracted, flank them, get to their side, and you can chew things up really fast. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of when the Terminator was an AFV at tier 6. A lot of tanks you could chew up very, very quickly at tier 6 because they just didn't have the armor to stand up to that kind of punishment for long. And you didn't need anti-guided missiles to do it. You just sat there and chewed on them, and they died in about 3 seconds. So you're kind of back to that with this, only now you're at tier 8, so it's a little bit more grown up. Do I think it's worth $45? Meh. No, not really. It's good, but if I wasn't trying to do a review on all these tanks, I probably wouldn't have bought it. not at 45. It's more like a 25, maybe $30 tank. They're kind of overcharging, in my opinion, for a lot of these premiums. I know it's a tier 8 and you're jumping right in, and it's going to be the most expensive tier of tank, which is generally it's better than Wargaming's deals because most of their tier 8s are $50 or more. And you can get this tank for, $5 less than Wargaming usually sells their tier 8s. But it's really down to the personal preference. If you don't like the Vickers, you don't like more of a heavy tank, light tank kind of playstyle, you don't want to get the Sabra because it's tier 7, even though it is a really good main battle tank. If you're just kind of looking for something different, then you can pick this up instead. It's a completely different way of playing the game with an AFV, and I would say that's going to weigh a lot on your personal opinion. I like the tank. If I only could pick any of the 3 that I've done a review on recently, I would definitely get the Sabra over this. I would get the Sabra over the Vickers as well. So that's my personal opinion. But let's go ahead and move on. We're going to talk now, of course, about the commanders. Now, the commanders kind of are up in the air for me. They have reset. That's why I've got 9 points. They reset all the commanders because of patch 0.23. I haven't put the points in yet. I was using Max mainly because he's my highest commander. There are tons of other commanders you can choose from. Obviously, he's my highest. I'm trying to work on all the others. We do have Alexander Cortez, and he came with another package deal, which I believe you can still get on the store right now. So he's got this stuff right here. Chance of dealing max damage increased by 30%. And then you get all these others that also increase it up. And then as he levels up, this goes up and up and up until you have a 100% chance to always deal max damage with your shells. It's kind of crazy in some respects, but you're giving up other things for that, of course. So usually I'm going with Max. I'm sticking with Max for most of my tanks. He's just well-rounded. He doesn't do anything, one thing in particularly good or bad. It's just he's my highest, so he's got the most points. I have the most fun with him. He's no longer really giving a boost to anything like when the premium tanks or whatever, but he's still got crew resilience, and he's got, turret traverse speed, hull traverse speed, acceleration. He's got a little bit of everything. So as I work through these commanders and their new skill trees, I'll try to point out more specifically, but for premium tanks in general, I like having Max. If you don't have Max, just pick the skills that seem to go the best with your playstyle. Moving on to the crew. Obviously off-road driving, this thing needs acceleration on off-road terrain badly. It needs hull traverse speed badly. You're not going to ram anything with this, and accuracy while moving, nah, you can just pretty much auto-lock on an enemy and just shoot at them, and it's going to hit something. Whether it goes through or not is a different story, but definitely getting the acceleration and the hull traverse speed up is a necessary evil for sure with this tank. The gunner, do the twist, turret traverse speed, yep. Aim speed, yep. You could say overall accuracy would be alright. Cannon hit points increased by 20%. They're going to wreck your cannon. Doesn't matter if it's got 20% more health. Doesn't matter if you start taking damage with missiles. It's going to wreck your cannon. It doesn't matter what kind of health they have. It would have to have 1,000,000 health before a missile or two isn't going to destroy you. As far as that goes. So I go with, just aiming faster and getting the turret traverse speed improved. Now, as far as ammunition, well, you got your AP fragmentation projectile, and you've got your standard AP fin stabilized. I'm just loading all AP. I don't see any reason to load this and basically end up with less pin. Because, why? I mean, it does have 15% bonus module damage, so maybe you take a few rounds of this, maybe 100 rounds. Just if you can't go through it, maybe you can wreck some modules on some tanks. It's up to you. Now, of course, I'm going with the standards that I always do. Surplus parts crate. Now, this is something that, people have gone back and forth. I've asked some people of opinions. Because of the missile spam, and until they fix it, people have been begging for months, please stop the missile spam, make the tanks fight me with something other than the damn rockets. So as long as the rockets and the missiles are such a problem right now, you pretty much need to, in my opinion, always take the surplus parts crate because you can use it 3 times. It is expensive, but you can use it 3 times, increases your repair speed, and it repairs all the damaged components on your vehicle at one go. Also, you take the first aid cabinet, which is the same thing but for your crew. You know, all your crew are healed. It gives them extra resilience, and it can be used 3 times. Those two are the big two that I would just start taking no matter what. In every vehicle, you're gonna need to be able to repair your vehicle 3 times. Not so much the crew, but it's that extra resilience and the fact that you can use it 3 times is what's important. It just depends on the tank you're driving. Base is how much your crew is going to die, or how good you are. But if you're really good, you can chance and just take the medical kit. You know, most of the time my crew doesn't get knocked out. I've had my driver and my commander knocked out twice in a row. So your mileage may vary, your wallet may vary, of course, but right now it's kind of easy to make a lot of credits. And you're driving a premium vehicle, you should be making hundreds of thousands of credits per game, especially in PvE, as long as you take care and you play well. Now, for me, I of course always take the energy drink. I want my crew stats as boosted as I can make them. Fire is something else you might think about, but remember, no matter which one of these you use, you have to manually use them. There is no auto fire extinguisher like in World of Tanks. You have to manually put out your fires. For everything else, it's just personal preference. I take the energy drink. If you wanted to bump up the mobility of this thing, of course, you could take synthetic oil. Gives you an improvement on your acceleration and whole traverse by 10% and max speed by 5% per battle. It's much cheaper than the energy drink, but pick your poison. But the big one that I will always recommend and pretty much say that it's almost a requirement now because of the missile spam, the field rebuild kit. Take this one, not this one, take this one. If you're alive, it gives you 100% health and ammo. If you're dead, if you get killed, you will revive at the nearest revive point. Not with 100% health, this is a typo, with 60% health and 100% ammo. Either way, you get 100% ammo. If you're alive, you get a full heal. If you're dead, you respawn away from the battle with 60% health. Bring this, please. You only get one per battle. It's not a ×3, but it's not that much more expensive than the high tier field maintenance kit. So just please bring this. If you run out of ammo, you're going to need to use it no matter what, regardless of your health. But there's so many people that if they'd had this, we could have won a battle, or they could have been in the battle all the way to the end. They got unlucky. They ate a couple missiles. They didn't see it coming. Whatever. This is your do-over button. Please, if you're going to play PvE at all, just spend the extra credits. Believe me, it is completely worth it. And then show only the unlocked, please. Here we go. As far as your retrofits, improve the aiming speed. Now, you may or may not want more aiming speed. The reason I take improve the aiming speed is because of the bloom. Autocannons bloom up very quickly after they start firing, and so if you want to be more accurate, like you're trying to hit a very specific spot on a tank instead of just the entire side of the rear, but maybe you can hit a weak point if you're completely aimed, and after the first 5 shots, your bloom gets so bad that the shells are going just obviously not anywhere where you're going. The improved aim means that you can stop firing for 1 second and then refire, and then 1 second, refire. So your accuracy gets right on the money much quicker with improved aim speed. So that's kind of why I take that. Now, you could also take reduce the size of the aiming circle. Overall accuracy gets better by 5%. That's not bad. And I also take, of course, improved reload speed. Now, this tank doesn't really have reload speed, so but then again, I don't even know if this even does anything on this. It must, because it has a reload speed. It's just, I'm not sure at what point this really makes a difference. It is an autocannon, and you can just hold the fire button down. I'm going to look more into this. I would probably not take improved reload speed, but for now I keep it because it seems like it does help either the time between the shells or whatever. And it just makes me fire faster is what I believe. Instead of reload speed, it's more like firing speed. So this is, I think, still an improvement to the tank. I'm just not quite sure exactly when it comes to the autocannons. Now that they've changed it to where it's just a constant stream of bullets. But I believe that this does, in fact, make that go quicker. But moving down, mobility is where this tank really sucks. So hull traverse speed improved by 10%. Most likely what I would do if I didn't want to improve my reload speed, I would take this. Improved filter systems. Acceleration 10%, and then the engine health plus 25%. It's just an extra thing. It doesn't really need any more turret traverse speed, but acceleration, I would probably drop the reload speed for acceleration just to get it moving a little bit quicker, because that's the biggest weakness of the tank, is the mobility. As far as all of this goes, you could augment your vision range. You could get telescopic lens, improves the 55 meters if it's stopped, or you could go with the optics to get the 35 meters just all the time. You could also use repair kits to repair stuff faster, but generally you're not there to take damage. You're there to kind of be a sneaky little guy that flanks stuff and just shoots the crap out of things. So I wouldn't take any of that. So it's reload speed is the only one that I might change to improved filter system. I believe, though, that improved reload speed still does help out your fire rate. So, in a nutshell, that is the Marder 2, the armored fighting vehicle at Tier 8. It is a little terror. It does drive around. It is kind of low profile. Like I said, it is a little sluggish, but overall, I think it does really well for the tier, and for an autocannon monster with that 200 millimeters of pen, you can really chew things up. Again, I don't think it's worth $45. I really, really don't. I wish it was a little bit cheaper than that. But if you are a collector, if you're a fan of the AFVs, you might pick this one up. It does have the funky paint job, so you are stuck with it. And keep that in mind if that's a problem for you. But anyway, I now have a replay for you. I'll let you all decide if it's something you're interested in after you see how it roams around the battlefield. See how I do. I'll try to get it as good as I can, as always. So, hope you like it. Take care, and I'll see you on the battlefield. And here we are on the Banshee map, one of the older school maps in the game. And as soon as I looked at the team list up there and saw that we had 2 Challenger 2s, I felt 100% safe that we were going to win this battle. Anytime you get some Challenger 2s, it's a good thing. So I wasn't exactly sure where I should go with an AFV on this map. I mean, I knew what was going to happen and where things were going to be popping up. And I just didn't know where I should try to go to be mostly as effective as possible. Because, you know, as I mentioned, it is kind of sluggish and slow, so I don't want to hang back so far and be playing catch-up all day. But I don't want to also be up front where I'm going to be the first thing that the enemy tanks are shooting at. But I also don't want to sit too far back, because it is an autocannon and I might lose a lot of penetration if I'm sitting too far back. So luckily it's going to be a good team, I will say that much. But I'm just going to skulk around here using these tanks from the train. Look at that. Oh, yes. Yes. Now, just so I could mention, I did switch Maximilian, my commander, out with Cortez. So you're going to see that I'm hitting for a lot of high damage, a lot of 72s. Even though 65 seems to be the average damage with this tank, 72 seems to be the top end. And you'll see just how many times I hit actually for 72. I don't have him maxed out, so I've only got like a 90% chance to hit for max damage with Cortez as my commander, but it's more than enough with an AFV just because of the fire rate. You know, you can see that it's easy to tear through a lot of tanks, except for a few tier 9s and 10s. Obviously, you know, I'm not really going to go through much when it comes to Abrams tanks and stuff like that, but a lot of tanks just like this, they sit there. Oh, yeah, look at that. Just chew them up. Now, a lot of the Chinese tanks, a lot of the Russian tanks, just like that, you know, the side armor on those tanks, it's just not very good. They're very good frontally, usually on the upper hull and, of course, the front of the turrets. But other than that, you're going to end up wrecking a lot more tanks than you think you will with 200 pen. Believe me, it's a lot of fun. But anyway, that was a T90. Before that was the Bradley. I'm going to go ahead and start capping stuff because I have no idea what my team's going to do. Obviously, it's just pugging teams here at random. In the matchmaker, the team before this was literally dead within the first 2 minutes, leaving me to just basically die on my own. But I figured I might as well get at least some of the objectives because, believe me, a lot of teams don't go for those secondary objectives. Those secondary objectives are anywhere from 30 to 50% bonus experience if you do them. So please do them. Don't just wander off and don't needlessly go die to do them. But, if you can do them easily, please grab them. Now, this is a very risky maneuver here. I used to do this a lot, and especially in heavy tanks on this map. You come down here, you can spot everything around the cap circle and just lay into everything that's there. Now, of course, I'm lucking out here. I actually bounced a rocket from that guy. It was Bradley, and he was point blank with a missile, and it somehow barely did anything to me. So right now, I'm getting lucky. I'm not sure where the computer is shooting, but wherever it is, I'm actually bouncing shots. And as you can see, there are a lot of tanks that I'm going through right now. Most of them don't have that much armor, but especially if they go side on, like the Bradleys, I can tear them up. I mean, you just look, I'm just sitting here literally just farming this guy. Warrior down. Oh yeah. RCR down. And the AMX just not going to stand up to much punishment. Alright, now we got like T90 MSs. And it's just a matter of kind of hunting the shots. At the very least, I'm spotting these guys so that my team can shoot from further away and be more effective and not have to worry so much about getting penetrated. But you see, as soon as I start to shoot, the enemy tanks really don't like it. So they immediately turn and want to come after me. And then there's a T14 Armada. And I know I'm not really going to be messing with him. He's a tier 10. It's our favorite friend, the T15. The missile spammer from hell. And I knew I wasn't going to go mess with that guy. But, the tanks keep turning, once again, to face my team. And thus showing me their juicy, fat sides. And this tank, with 200 millimeters of pin, like I said, it has no problem going through the sides of almost any tank that it comes up against. So here we are, laying in. And plus, this corner is a little tricky because of that pipe. That pipe, you can't shoot through it. And if you're lucky, like I am, I'm just putting my front out there, trying to angle it a little bit, trying to juke the shots. This thing doesn't have that fast of a top speed. It doesn't get up there that quick, but it isn't bad at juking shots. So again, putting in M1A1 Abrams some shots. It's not too much of a problem. I can do it. But then here we are. We're dealing with this guy. Here we go. Now I ended up getting lucky there. I tracked him. But you see, there's nowhere I can pin. It's showing red, red, red. But right there it's showing yellow. So here I am. T90 MS. Tier 9. I'm a tier 8. And I am doing damage. It's not always hitting. But see how when when the bloom gets too big, I stop doing damage because now I'm not hitting a specific point. But then I let it aim a little bit, get back to being low, and it starts to work again. 9910, I believe that's a Chinese main battle tank, but he's sitting with his butt to me, and that's a mistake. Now luckily, we did get somebody to move down and get that last secondary objective, because this game is almost over already. And you can see how much damage this thing has already done. And then I came up behind it, boom! And then that is a very quick game. But I did put this tank into a position where it's not really at its greatest strength, but it kind of ended up working out because my team weren't a bunch of, marshmallows. And then this tank's armor held up enough that I could bounce a few shots and not die instantaneously to missile spam because of the wall. So again, it's about either flanking, getting to the sides, getting to the rear, or getting to a position where you've got the advantage over the enemy team. Obviously, AI might be different, but hey, a win is a win, and that was a pretty decent win. 16,000, almost 17,000 damage. Spotted 24 enemies, killed 11 of them. 22,000 experience, a shit ton of money, top damage on the team, only just barely beating out the T90A, believe it or not. But look at this, I did in fact bounce 1,600 or so damage. So this does bounce shots, believe it or not. 440,000 credits. That's why I said please bring some of your kits, like your PvE kits and all that. Yes, it is expensive, but I just made almost 500,000 credits, and that's just one game. Now, yeah, that was a 2x game, and it was a good game, but you'll have good games like that constantly as long as you get into a decent team, or if you're grouping with friends or something like that. So making back everything that you spent for the match, including using your repair kits and all that, and then still making a profit is very doable in premium tanks, especially in PvE. So there you have it. I didn't get to show off, running around too much, but you did see some of the mobility issues. It does get going once you get it going, and it can move around the battlefield, and it can also obviously put up a decent fight when it comes to dealing damage and blocking damage with the little bit of armor. It is surprising how much you will bounce. Now, I did get lucky. I got into a position where the enemy tanks weren't really that effective, and not all of them shot at me either because they were distracted between my team and myself. But you could see, regardless of that, I was fighting tier 9s and 10s and still able to penetrate them as long as it wasn't directly front on. So for an autocannon to be able to do that at tier 8, that's pretty good in my opinion. And for a premium tank to be able to do it, just like the Terminator used to do when it was an AFV at tier 6, this thing can tear shit up. And again, do I think it's worth $45? Not unless you're really interested in the way that tank plays. Some people might go with the Terminators because at least they have missiles if all else fails, and you will do damage with the missiles. But overall, I don't mind the Marder 2. I do think it's a very good premium tank, at least so far. I've never really had a really horrible game in it. I've always done pretty decent in it. Maybe I just getting lucky. But, of course, everyone plays a little bit different, so it's up to you ultimately as to whether or not you enjoy it enough, enjoy that play style enough to give it a shot. So anyway, that's all I have for this video. If you liked it, if you enjoyed it, if I helped you out, please press the like button down below. It does help out the channel. I do stream on Twitch now. I've got a streamy channel going on. If you want to see more Armored Warfare or want to see these tanks more in live action, I am more than happy to take them out and drive them around. If I am streaming Armored Warfare, or if people would want me to, you can come into my chat at any time that I'm streaming. Hey, throw out a question, ask me questions. I will help out, and if I'm not doing anything else, I could even fire the game up and do a few rounds in whatever tank anyone wants to see. Obviously, I appreciate everyone's support. This year has been a pretty good year for my YouTube and for my Twitch. Just keeping it rolling with Armored Warfare, hopefully limping along and adding more premium tanks. More premium tank reviews will be coming after the new year, along with some other things I got in the background working on it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, you can click down somewhere on the bottom of the screen or on the screen somewhere. I will have a link and you can click on that and subscribe instantly to my channel. Gives you an update every time I upload something new to YouTube. Anyway, take care. Happy holidays. Happy New Year, everyone. And I'll talk to you all next time.